Hey, it is Podmas. My fringe is too long, so I can't see anything. Bart is here. Oh, you can't see his face. Let's talk about goals, shall we? I'm scrolling TikTok at 3 a.m. because my nervous system's too fucked to go to sleep and I feel too anxious to put my phone down. Is that why I'm having an existential crisis? There are always going to be a million other things you could have decided to do. I'm broken. Hey girls, welcome back to Podmas. Let me sort my slippers out. I want to talk about goals. Because it's that time of year. And, ew, I do not like the scrunchie on my wrist. After years and years of setting goals, working towards goals, hitting some goals, missing a lot of goals, I feel as though I've come upon this realization. And I don't want to be like, nobody ever talks about this. I never see anyone talking about this online. I'm not like other girls. I'm quirky and I have new ideas. I'm sure people are talking about this. But something that I have kind of realized that really relinquishes all of the pressure for me to achieve all of my goals, and it's a very liberating realization, and that is that it's not about the goal. The goals do not matter. It's about the life that you build in pursuit of the goals. And so it's not that goals don't matter and so you shouldn't set them and you shouldn't work towards anything and you should just be like, live, love, laugh, whatever you want, unless that's what you want to do. Maybe that is your goal. Goals give you direction, and it's about the life that you build as you move in that direction, which almost becomes the goal in the first place. The goal is the pursuit. But we'll talk about it. Let's do the check-in, shall we? Let's do the morning check-in. I'm getting very hot, which is crazy because it's actually very cold. Did I tell you Bart is here? Bart is here. If I haven't told you, Bart is here. Let's do a morning check-in. Remember, if you want to add a question to the check-in jar, we're getting kind of low. I'm gonna have to start adding some more. So submit. I've put a link in the description. You can add a question. It can be, how are you? It can be, what's on your mind? It can be diving into the inner workings of our psyches. Let's see what this one is. Okay. Ooh, okay. This is kind of relevant. I feel like I've said that every episode so far. What is a promise you are not keeping to yourself? For yourself? With yourself. Wow, I've forgotten how to speak the English language. What is a promise you're not keeping with yourself right now? What is a promise that you're not keeping with yourself right now? What is a promise that I'm not keeping with myself right now? I think a promise that I'm not keeping with myself is the promise to always live for when I'm 90. And I think maybe this is just the human condition, because sometimes I'm definitely keeping it with myself. And then other times I get very caught up. Again, maybe this is just kind of the human condition. We get very caught up in the kind of mundane, in the small intricacies of life, you know, like dinner and menial frustrations and, oh, this person said this and this person's not understanding me and, oh, I feel really tired and blah, 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 blah. And I think the promise that I would like to continue to keep with myself is the promise that I will live for when I'm 90. I will live for when I'm 90. Everything I want to do so that when I look back, I can say, yes, that was a life that I wanted to live. And I think maybe I'm not, I think I appreciate that as a concept. And sometimes I feel like I'm sticking to that. But I think I'm halfway in. I still am working on holding that to my chest, even when things aren't the greatest and things don't feel the greatest. Because I think it's really easy to say these kind of like grandiose, positive statements when you're feeling good, but it's when you're feeling a bit, am I doing the right thing? Like, should I be doing something else? Blah, blah, blah. That's when I think these statements can kind of go out the window. And so maybe the promise that I'm not keeping with myself right now is doing it for when you're 90 to my chest, even when things don't feel like the 490 life, because 490 kind of encompasses the great things, like do the big grandiose things for when you're 90, live the memories, like you only live once, do the crazy things, you know, like, oh, I'd rather have an oh well than a what if. But it also means, okay, if you want to live a certain type of life, sometimes you have to make sacrifices, and sometimes you have to do hard things, and you have to be consistent and show up every day. And I think the promise I need to keep reminding myself to keep is to hold that to my chest, even when things are kind of feeling when it seems like things are kind of lacking in progress, being slow, and not feeling that kind of excited for when you're 90 feeling. We only have a few left in here. So if you have a really good journal prompt that you always come back to, a question that really helps you, maybe you read a question recently and you were like, damn, that really hit me, submit it in the form, and then I would love to answer it. That's my favorite thing. I think sharing good questions and good journal prompts and just good pieces of writing in general is definitely my love language. So let's talk about goals. A way that I really like to kind of synthesize information and the way that I come up with a lot of my ideas is through writing. I feel the most in flow when I'm writing. This is kind of a secret, I don't really tell people this, but I would love to write a book one day. Like, I just love writing. I feel most in flow when I'm writing. The other day I was writing and the topic came through to me about goals and the pursuit of goals, and the idea that it's never about the goal, and why it's very important that we set goals. As human beings, we need purpose, we need direction. You know how it feels when you're just kind of going through the motions, you're not working towards anything. That feels very stagnant, you feel very stuck, you feel very down on yourself. I think we need direction and purpose. And why am I sat like this? We need purpose and direction and something to kind of focus on. But I think we get so trapped in picking the right thing and picking the right goal to focus on that we lose sight of the fact that it doesn't really matter what the direction is, as long as one, you have one, and two, as long as it's in line with the type of life that right now you believe is the best type of life for you, with the knowledge that that can change at any point. Doesn't really matter what it is, because when you're 90, you won't care about the New Year's resolutions that you didn't tick off in 2023, and you won't care about the 4 ticks on your 30 under 30 list that you didn't complete. What you'll care about is the life that you built in pursuit of those goals. Let me give you some examples of that I wrote in this piece. Maybe your goal is to have your dream body. Maybe you think, okay, 2024 is going to be my year to have my dream body. I'm going to have the abs. I'm going to be walking around on the beach. I'm going to be fit as fuck. I'm going to be an Instagram model. Maybe you never get there. Maybe you never hit that goal. But maybe in the pursuit of having that dream body, you find running as a hobby and you take up running, and then you start running and you're like, oh, I really enjoy this. Like, I find this quite empowering. And then you push yourself further and further, and maybe you run a half marathon. Maybe you start pushing yourself mentally and physically to places that you never imagined you were able to do, and you do things that you never imagined. Maybe you meet friends for life through running that you keep with you throughout your life. And maybe it gives you a sense of confidence and a sense of purpose that you didn't have before. And maybe it gives you more than that dream body that was your initial goal could ever have given you, but you wouldn't find it if you hadn't set that initial goal to begin with. It doesn't matter what the goal is, you move in that direction and you just allow life to do its thing, and you trust that the life you build in the pursuit of the goals that you set is the goal in the first place. Maybe you set a goal of hitting 1 million followers on Instagram. It seems kind of arbitrary, doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. We can all kind of appreciate that you're probably not going to look back at your life at 90 and be like, damn, wish I'd got more followers on Instagram. But maybe you set that goal for yourself, and in the pursuit of that, maybe you build a career through social media. Maybe you try a bunch of different careers, things that you never would have tried in a million years had you have not set that goal, and you end up making a living doing things that you like doing. Maybe you never end up hitting 1 million followers, but because you pursued something and you set a goal and you worked towards it, it didn't really matter what it was, but it mattered that it was there and you worked towards it, and with that you built a life. The things that happened in the pursuit of that allowed you to build a life that you truly loved and you really enjoyed. You can now look back on when you're 90 years old and be like, yeah, that was the life that I wanted to live, and I don't have regrets because I pursued something and I built something incredible in that pursuit. Even right now, I'm doing Podmas, okay? So on paper, the goal of Podmas maybe is to build brand awareness with this new brand that I'm starting, to build more of an audience, to start connecting with a new community of people. All of these things are kind of the on paper goals of the Podmas. I've only been doing it for a few days now. already things are coming up for me that I'm learning that are invaluable things. I've been experiencing a lot of self-doubt and criticism, like self-criticism, not criticism by anybody. I'd have to be more relevant for anyone to criticize me. Criticism to myself. Am I good enough? Is this what I want to do? Do I have anything interesting to say? Do I need to learn more? How can I fill a gap in the industry with or like other girls? How can I have the most impact? Is this making impact? All of these thoughts of self-doubt that I'm having to be confronted with, to transmute, to learn from, none of which would have come up had I have not set this goal to do Podmas. It's also requiring a lot of discipline, a lot of getting up every day and creating things, even if I don't really feel creative. You know, you often want to wait to do something, especially creative or personal. You're like, oh, I need to be in the mood for that. I'm not in the mood to script for a podcast right now. I'm not in the mood to sit in front of a camera and film right now. I don't feel like filming. I don't feel creative. I don't feel like I have good ideas. But because I'm going to be making 24 episodes and recording every day, like I have to create every day and I have to write every day. And so it's helping me build that form of discipline and helping me cultivate an ability to come up with creative ideas and almost learn how to turn on and be creative on demand, which is a skill. I don't know where that skill will lead and where that ability will lead. My ability to podcast, like all of learning how to podcast, edit quickly, learning how to cut episodes into clips really quickly. All of these tiny things that on paper don't really matter. You never know where these things are going to lead you and where the skills that you're learning in the pursuit of a goal, regardless of whether you hit it or not, the skills that you learn in pursuit of the goal are almost the goal in and of itself. And so when you're thinking, what goals should I set for this year? Where should I be going? What direction should I be going in? Just know that it doesn't really matter as long as it is aligned with the life that you believe in this moment is going to bring you joy, then it doesn't matter what goals you set. I used to be, in a past life, a bodybuilder. And I know that sounds crazy now. I was very in the, I don't know if you remember this or if you were in this world, the kind of bodybuildery, fitfluencer YouTube era. I wasn't in it personally as a creator, but I was very much a consumer of that, like Amanda Bucci, Dunk, Nikki, what was her name? Nikki something, Christian Guzman. Oh, all of the names are like something bunny, like she's like blonde, she's like with Christian Guzman now, and Christian Guzman was with Nikki. I was very in that kind of lore. And so I was very into bodybuilding. My goal was to be a skinny legend and compete in a bodybuilding competition. My whole life was consumed with that. I was going to the gym 5 days a week, 6 days a week. I worked in a gym. Like my whole life was consumed with this thing. And that was the goal, was to get change my body composition enough and become a skinny legend enough. I don't know why I keep saying skinny legend, to be a bodybuilder and to be in one of those competitions, you know, where like people go on stage and they like do this muscles, like those bikini competitions. That for some reason was something that I really wanted to do, and that was a goal. I never did that, okay? I never achieved that. Instead, I kind of went traveling after a few years of training and making a lot of progress. I stopped doing it and went traveling, and my life just took a different path. On paper, that was a failure. That was a failed goal that never came to fruition. I don't look back at that and think, God, that was a waste of time. Oh, I didn't hit that goal. Gutted. I don't care that I didn't hit that goal. But what I did gain through that time was an enormous amount of information and education and knowledge about nutrition and body composition and fitness and the gym and training and just our bodies in general. Also, being in that world led me to veganism because, and I will talk about this I can literally do 5 episodes on this. I was in the depths of, maybe I should save this for another episode. I'll just give you a little bit of a backstory. I was very in the depths of calorie counting and counting macros, if it fits your macros thing. If you've never heard of this, you're going to be like, this doesn't make any sense. But if you were in this, you know. I was so obsessed with food at the time, almost, it was to the point of unhealthiness. I was kind of looking for a way to eat more calories and eat carbohydrates without, at the time, my goal was without getting fat. I was so obsessed with the idea of being thin and not being and like having no body fat, which was crazy and unhealthy. And again, I will talk about that on a different episode. But my desire for that and my kind of obsession with food led me to veganism and another kind of YouTube era where loads of YouTubers were vegan and they were doing like high carb diets, and I was seeing all of these kind of YouTubers who were eating loads of food, more food than I was ever eating, because I was so obsessed with like being skinny. And that was initially over the animals and the environment, which are the only reasons I do it now. Those were the reasons I went vegan. And so my goal was to be a skinny legend and be a bodybuilder. But actually what it allowed me to do was find veganism. And now I've been vegan for nearly 8 years, and being vegan has changed my life in so many ways. And it's such a big part of my life, I guess, which I don't even think about very much anymore because it's just become so fundamental to me as a person. But I would have never found that had I have not set this kind of bodybuilding goal and been working towards that. And I just think that's really cool. I think it's cool how you never really know how the goals that you set for yourself are going to impact your life. You never really know how decisions that you make are going to, you never know what paths the decisions you make are going to lead you down. And that's why you just have to take them. I think we're so obsessed with the idea of like knowing. You set a goal, okay, I want to run a marathon, and you think you know what that path is going to look like. You think, okay, I'm going to set a goal to run a marathon and I'm going to train like this and it's going to look like this. I think so often it just doesn't. And you just don't know how setting these random goals are going to influence you in ways you could never imagine. When I joined the MLM back in 2020, I thought, okay, I'm going to sell these products. This is my new career. I had this idea of what my life was going to look like. I'm going to sell these products. I don't want to say the name of it because if you don't know what it is, I don't want to even awaken you to the company because I just don't want anyone else to get into it. You know, I had this idea of what my life was going to look like. I was going to sell these products. I was going to build the team and do the MLM thing. And I was going to experience financial freedom through selling these products online. My life took an enormously different path than what I thought it was going to look like back then. Like I could never have imagined that I would have had the last 4 years that I've had when I first started that. But if I hadn't made the decision, okay, I'm going to start this MLM and I'm going to start this new kind of opportunity and try this, I would never be on social media. I would never have sold digital products. I would never know how to build and sell digital products. I would never have a podcast. I would never have Instagram. I wouldn't have connected with so many people that I have. I don't know where my life would be. And it was all through just setting these goals, making these decisions, working towards different things without a super huge attachment to the outcome. You know, it's like hold them lightly. Set your goals and hold them lightly. Set your goals and hold them lightly. So you can set them and you can give yourself a direction. You can say, okay, I want to run a marathon. But if you're training to run a marathon, you meet someone and they are from Australia and they talk about Australia and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, maybe I should move to Australia. Then you move to Australia and you don't end up running a marathon, but you end up moving to Australia and doing something completely different. Allow your life to take these incredible turns. Don't be so attached to your direction and your goals in your life that you can't let life work its magic and let things happen in mysterious ways and let different people guide you and different experiences impact you and make different choices and set new goals. And don't be afraid to let go of goals if you think, okay, I actually don't want that anymore. Like I would not ever train for a bodybuilding show anymore. I don't want to be a bodybuilder. I don't want to change my body in that capacity anymore. I have no desire for that, but I'm so glad that I set that goal. And I find that really liberating because it releases the pressure to achieve goals. And I think sometimes I'm hesitant to set goals because they feel so big. And when you often set big, audacious goals, I think it's very common for you to not hit them or not hit them, but you don't hit them straight away. And so that can feel like a failure. And so I think when you set often big goals and don't hit them immediately or ever, and you can look back and be like, oh, I set that goal to make X much money and I didn't. I set a goal with that business and I didn't hit it. That can be really disheartening. And I think when we kind of are confronted with the idea of like new year, new me, what goals should I set? Should I be setting New Year's resolutions? Everyone's like, oh, what's your New Year's resolution? There can be a resistance to setting goals, setting any New Year's resolutions or setting goals in the first place, because in your mind, you're like, oh, but I've set goals in the past and they don't come true. I set New Year's resolutions and they don't come true. So what's the point? The point is they just give you a direction. And if you can let go of the idea of it needing to come true and needing to come to full fruition to be valuable, then they can be liberating, and it can just be a focal point in the distance for this is where I'm going. And so on those days where you feel kind of shit and you wake up and you're like, my life is pointless, you know you have this guiding light, this guiding star. Bring it back to the Christmas themed. You need your own Star of Bethlehem. Okay? Maybe you just need your Star of Bethlehem. Doesn't matter if you never reach it. It's just the direction. It's the life you build in pursuit of your goal that matters. I just want to read you the last part of the piece of Substack that I wrote on this topic, because I think it just summarizes it well. So set the goals. Pursue something relentlessly. It doesn't even matter what it is. In the end, it won't matter anyway, because it was only really about the life it allowed you to live. It was about the moment, the day-to-day. Giving yourself things to hold on to that made life worth living, that kept you going. It was about the memories you made and the people you met in the pursuit. And because you set yourself goals, arbitrarily really, given the fact that we're all just specks of dust on a floating rock, putting meaning to things that realistically aren't even there, you became the person you wanted to become. And maybe it doesn't look the way you thought it would, and that's fine. And maybe you didn't achieve all the things you wanted to achieve, but you pursued, you experienced, you lived, and that was really the only thing that mattered anyway. Yay! If you want to read it, it's quite a short piece. You can go and read it on Substack, polyonline.substack.com. I don't write on there frequently or with any type of time frame or schedule, but sometimes when I write things and they feel inspired, I post them. Thanks for listening. I think this was a really short episode and I don't know if it was good, but I set myself a goal to post every day and this is what we're coming up with. Happy Podmas. See you tomorrow. Mwah.